What's going on? What's going on, everybody? It is the only sports podcast, 2 days after Christmas edition. I'm Santa, aka Will. That's the Grinch, aka Casino. You can tell by he's got his sleeves. But see, the only thing is you didn't cut your sleeves. You just rolled them up.
I'm not going to cut them.
It's such an odd fashion choice, but you know what? It works for him. It works for him. But we are back here to talk about week 16. We literally just did the picks, reviewed them. Casino got 11, I got 10, but then in the only sports podcast Super Bowl, our two Super Bowl picks of the Rams versus the Broncos, not only did the Broncos lose, the Rams destroyed them, 51-14. So
yeah, I had a day.
Yeah,
I felt good.
Yeah. So Casino has won the first official only sports podcast Super Bowl. He's also won the first the only sports podcast picks of the season. You're so far ahead now. I'm just giving it to you with 2 weeks to go. We'll still do the picks for fun, but you won. Congratulations, Casino. Congratulations.
What if I just start reverse psychology, like doing the reverse picks every time?
I still don't. Let's see. If you would have done reverse picks this time, 2, 3, 4, you would have still won 5 and I would have won 10. So you still are so far ahead that it's doesn't even matter. But the week 16, we kind of called it. This is week 16, right? Yeah. We kind of called it where most of these games were shit on paper. And then most of the games themselves, when it actually came to watching them, were also shit. This was a shit week of NFL football. Anything to add to the shit week of NFL football?
I mean, well, you didn't cue me up really. Yeah, no, it was a shit week of football. Not just because my team lost again, which I figured that would happen. It wasn't entertaining. There wasn't a lot of fun. There was very few entertaining games.
Yeah, and especially, I mean,
as you said last episode, like I was watching a little more basketball on my phone. I never watched basketball. Like never.
I didn't watch what is it? The Broncos Rams game. I watched none of, and then I switched it because that was when the Bucks and Celtics were on. So I was watching that
a game. I can't wait till we talk about that later.
Well, and then I switched over to Rams Broncos, and it was like halfway through the second quarter, and it was like 24-7 or something like that. And I was just like, ugh. But I will say, and we both agreed on this, it is more entertaining when two bad teams, one team gets blown out by the other bad team, instead of like Texans and Titans, where it's like 19-14, and it's just like, ugh. Or no, the worst one was Saints Browns. That game
Saint
was
Brown or Saint and Brown. boom, boom, boom.
But let's get into the games, Casino. And you know what? We can start with your team, Christmas Eve, playing against the Bengals. At what point did you think they're coming back and they're going to pull this off? Because it started the Bengals scored all 22 in the first 2 quarters. Then your Patriots start coming back, score 18 in the 6th in the 3rd, 12 in the 4th. And then let's see, Joey B threw 2 INTs, 3 touchdowns. T. Higgins had a day, which of course he did because I had him on my bench. And then Mac Jones, 21 for 33, 240, 2 touchdowns. Ramondre Stevens only 13 carries and 30 yards, and then that fumble with a minute left.
Right. There was one point where I was like, oh, there's a possibility they could win this. This is interesting. But in the reality, I even set it out to my Patriots group text and whatnot, and I was just like, we'll find a way to blow it. We're going to lose. I looked over at the wife, and I was like, we're going to lose.
Yeah,
and it happened. It happened.
So now
here's the thing, though.
Go ahead.
Okay, go for it. No, go for it. I think you're going to set up what I was going to say.
Well, I was going to say the talking point coming out of this game is what I had written down here. Is Mac Jones a dirty player?
Wasn't going to go there first. I don't think he's a dirty player. I think he's a young player. You know how many there's so many dirty players in the NFL that don't get called dirty players. And
Uh-huh.
I forget who was talking about it. It went on their rant about Mac Jones being a dirty player. I forget his name. He was going on about Mac Jones being a dirty player and comparing him to like the Grayson Allen of football, which if you don't know
Jesus.
Grayson Allen, he, little white dude from a really good college career from Duke, and he went into the NBA, couldn't really fathom anything, or produce anything, and he just kept hurting people.
Yeah.
I wanted to shove. I just want to punch that dude in the face. Allen was deliberately trying to hurt people. Mac Jones, that didn't look that he got fined. It was a low block. But you know how many chop blocks don't get called from the offensive line? It's just, and this is not me trying to defend Mac Jones. I'm not. I have my takes on him.
Yeah, so you don't think he's a dirty player. The block was, well, they always say it's a dirty block when you go low, right? So that's the only
It
reason they're
always is.
saying low. Yeah, is he went for the legs, but I don't know. To me, it's not dirty. It's he is smaller than the other person and trying to get leverage, but I don't know.
Well,
I don't know. I don't hate
yeah.
Mac Jones, but I really don't have an opinion of Mac Jones. I don't love him. I don't hate him. He's just
Oh,
like
that's
a
fair.
guy
That's
to
fair.
me.
But the whole just saying Mac is a dirty player, and then like I said, I forget the guy's name that was
Was it
calling him out.
Stephen A? I think I saw a Stephen A
It wasn't
clip where he
Stephen A.
was going
Smith.
off
No,
him.
he was a different gentleman. But he was like, uh, now all bets are off for Mac Jones. Like protecting the quarterback, those rules, all bets are off.
I
He
mean,
said
that's
something like
insane.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so this is why rules are in place. Like this is why there's an issue when it comes to players getting hurt. It's like two wrongs don't make a right, but three rights make a left. NASCAR for you. But I even got the wife to smile for that one. That was great. But yeah, like that's just egregious. I can't believe he said that live. Like, fine, if you want to call Mac Jones a dirty player and you thought it was dirty, whatever. That's your take on it. But to
Yeah.
say, oh, all bets are off, protecting the quarterback means nothing to him now. So you're basically saying open season going break Mac Jones' leg. I don't agree
Well,
with that. And I've not just him. I've seen a lot of people saying comments on like that where um, the protecting the quarterback for him is gone. You shouldn't worry about that. If he's not going to protect other players, go after him. And I'm like, first off, it's in the moment. He made a play. He's smaller. You're right. He's smaller than the other dude. It's not like he was a big lineman going down in front of him. Is it a safe play? No. Did he get fined? Did he get yelled at? Sure. He's still a rookie. Again, what he did, I wish he didn't have done. It wasn't great, but to say, oh well, he is a dirty player after one play. Now you want to put a bounty on his head? Fuck off.
well, hasn't there been aren't they calling him a dirty player because there's been other blocks like this?
I've
Isn't
seen
that the take or whatever?
okay. He does go out and he does block, but you know how many other times I've seen players go out ahead of a running back off a screen pass and they lay down in front of the player and they start rolling. Is that guy a dirty player? I've never heard anything about that. Why is this mainstream news? If you watch a game, you could probably call out 5 different dirty plays. Like, oh, why did he go low there? Why did he go low there?
So
It's
I
just
found an article while you were saying that called Mac Jones timeline of dirty plays, blah, 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 for questionable incidents. There's 2 other incidents before this one. So it's not like, it's not, I was expecting to open this up and see like, 50 instances, but there's 3 plays, including this one. So I now agree with you more, where it's just like, okay, it happened 3 times, but in the offseason, they won't do it because the NFL always changes rules to make the game better. But for some reason, when it comes to penalties and shit like that, they're just like, oh no, we're just going to change what a catch is or what a touchdown is or getting your feet in bounds. Those things they change immediately. But shit like, what the fuck is a roughing the passer call will never be addressed. They'll never do it. You see 3 of them a weekend where you're just like, that's how the fuck is that roughing the passer? And now, especially
and then you see the flip side of that, where you're like, how is that not roughing the passer?
Yeah. Well, especially where it's just like, oh, well, the quarterback was running, so that means it's open season. And it's just like, so because the quarterback passed this imaginary blue line, all of a sudden now you can murder him. But if he was behind the blue line and you hit him even a fraction of what you hit him if you walk past that, it's 15 yards, you get fined, you maybe get ejected. Like, it's just fucking insane. The other one is pass interference. I mean, there were calls this week where I was just like, I like last week with the Jaguars or the Giants Commanders game. Like literally the guy's wrapping his arms around him, the ball's not to him, no pass interference. There was one.
Well, that didn't.
Well, it cost them the touchdown to potentially win the game.
Win the game.
And then I was watching the Eagles Cowboys game.
That.
Yeah. Eagles Cowboys game. The first Eagles or the first Dallas interception that they got, the guy is over the Eagles defender and just like pushing him, like literally crawling over him to get the ball. Nothing. There was 2 more in that play, 1 for Eagles, 1 for Cowboys, where I was like, the fuck are we, like, what is the rule? What can you, as long as you don't just fucking hit somebody with your helmet right under their jaw and knock them down, then everything's legal now. It's just, I hate it. I hate it. But let's go to the flip side, Casino, of the Bengals, which Bengals, Chiefs, and Bills all vying for that spot, all winning this past weekend. And let's see, we have the Bills at, are they now 13-3? Why is this not updated?
Oop. Yeah, why is mine not updated either? I'm right there with you. No.
Are they? Is everybody 12-3?
Yeah, no, it is 12-3.
So the Bills are 12-3. Well, because it just says week 16 matchup, so it's weird. It's not saying week 17 matchup.
I'm getting as
You're
well.
Looking at the same thing, right? The NFL one. So we have Bills still number 1 at 12-3, Chiefs number 2 at 12-3, Bengals 11-4. But remember, Bengals beat Chiefs, so they finish with the same record. Those switch, and then Bills and Bengals play Monday night in hands down the best Monday night game of the season, and then in contention for biggest matchup of the season, because Cowboys Eagles was biggest matchup of the season before the Cowboys lost to the Jaguars. Then that game meant nothing. This game, Bills Bengals, this could mean potentially the difference between home field advantage and your third string or your third seed. Like that's,
yeah, I mean, and so who do the Chiefs have as well?
The Chiefs, let me get to them real quick.
Yeah, trying to navigate as well through here.
So, but I know the Chiefs, I think the Bills, well, the Bengals have Bills, Ravens.
The Chiefs got Broncos and then the Raiders, so they should win both of those.
Yeah.
They should win both of those. So pretty much the Chiefs could come out as a number 1 if the Bengals win. Man, this could be a 3-way tie, honestly, going into... Oh, no, it wouldn't shake up to be that way.
Well, no, it would end up being, if the Bills lose to the Bengals and the Chiefs win out, then the Chiefs are number 1 seed. Right. If the Bills lose to the Bengals and the Chiefs somehow lose one of the last 2 games, then Bengals are 1. So literally it all comes down to Monday night. Like that decides it, right? Like because I don't
Yeah.
think either of
That's
us think the Chiefs are losing their last 2 games.
that's gonna be phenomenal. What are you doing Monday night? Do you work?
No, I'm off Monday.
Hey, oh, that's right, because we do the podcast on Mondays.
Yeah, buddy.
Um, yeah, you should come down to my work and watch the game.
I would actually be down for that. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. But let's talk about this week. There's just some games we can just blow right past. I only have like one question for some of these games. Let's just go in order of how it's on my screen. We have the now 5-10 Atlanta Falcons losing 9-17 to the now 10-5 Baltimore Ravens. The one question I had for this game, Casino, is how in the fuck are the Ravens 10-5? No
I
one is
have no
talking
idea.
about them.
I have no idea. I really don't. Especially, I mean, I did have them winning this game even with Lamar Jackson out, but because they're playing the Falcons. But I don't know how they're sneaky. Your favorite word, sneaky. Yeah,
I wouldn't even say
contenders.
they're good. They're
No.
just, they play great defense. They feel very similar to like a less talented 49ers team, right? Like, I feel like they just kind of do what they do best and then play great defense and then just hold teams to, and then kind of make the other team do what they do worst. Does that make sense? Like, we have Huntley, who is, I mean, he's good and he's far better than Desmond Ridder. And I had this written right here, Casino. Your pick, you have to, you know how everybody always does that thing where it's like, oh, you have to pick one quarterback to save your life. This is one quarterback you want your team facing that you obviously want to give the worst quarterback to the opposing team, right? To save your life. I'm giving you 3 choices: Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis, Zach Wilson. Which of those 3 is the worst that you want quarterback in the opposing team?
Just because I've seen him play more, I'm going to say Zach Wilson
as the worst.
Yeah.
I think it's, and we can segue right to this next game. I think it is Malik Willis. He is the 7-8 Tennessee Titans lose to the now 2-12-1 Houston Texans, a game we both picked the Texans in. And you know why we both picked the Texans? Because it was going to be Malik Willis. And Malik Willis's stats: 14 for 23, 99 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Again,
not making over 100 yards in the NFL. I think you said that last week, is just abysmal.
Especially
like, that you have to try not to hit 100 yards passing in the NFL.
Again, against a team that previous to this game had lost 12 games this season and won 1. They had won 1 game going into this game. I don't know.
I mean, we did also say Houston they were showing fight recently the past few games, and that also contributed. But yeah.
But again, it's like, well, first, and then the other thing for this game is, why are the Texans, I get, you can do the whole, like, they're professionals, they step on the same field any given Sunday, blah, 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 blah. Why? Yeah. Why are the head coach, why are the owner trying to win games with 2 weeks to go in the season? Like, for what? What's the point of this? It's not like a Broncos situation where you were supposed to be great.
Well, I think there's rules against tanking.
Yeah, but I think there's ways around that to make sure you don't win. Like, I don't think there's, especially when it's the Texans, it's not like I would say more of what we've seen the past 2 weeks looks like tanking, where they do 3 of the worst plays you've ever seen with the chance to win the game. This one was just like, it wasn't even close the whole game. It felt like they were really like dominating the Titans. I mean, the Titans.
Well, I mean, the Titans didn't score anything in the last quarter. The Houston had to score 9 to win this game, so it was 10-17 Titans going into the fourth. So
yeah, but it was what I'm saying. It was a 1-score game the entire time, like nothing crazy, like 1-score game. If the Titans scored one more touchdown or the Texans like missed a kick or something, like they lose this game. So it's just, I don't know. These are always so weird. And also, this is the first week, especially with all these matchups, where I felt like maybe we should have made it 18 weeks. 17 weeks felt like the perfect amount. 18, now it just feels like we have weeks like this where it's just like, oh yeah, all these teams lost and it doesn't change playoff standings at all. Like it just feels like an extra just bleh, like guff casino. But if you are the Titans, you're done, right? Like I know you're
oh yeah.
still at the chance to get into the playoffs, but what would even be the point of this Titans team with no Ryan Tannehill getting into the playoffs?
Well, what would be the
Like,
point of the Jaguars getting in?
well, the Jaguars are at least interesting. They have a Super Bowl winning head coach. They have Trevor Lawrence who can actually throw for, he can throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, and then next week have like 150 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 INTs. But at least there's the chance. Like there's never the chance that this Titans team all of a sudden
That's a
drops
fair point.
45 on somebody, and especially with them playing the Cowboys next week. Like, again, let's say their defense holds up and goes crazy. Does anybody expect the Titans to be able to score 3 touchdowns? Like how? Unless Derrick Henry just rushes for 200 yards, but I don't know. As far as the Jaguars Titans, now the Jaguars are in the 4th seed. But they have that game coming up against the Titans, I believe, not this week, but the last week of the season, right? Yeah, it's going to be Titans Jags, which I don't think they've determined any of for the last week. That is one of the games that I think is in contention to be flexed into Sunday night, just because,
Yeah.
they always
I think
do
I
the
mentioned that on
ones.
last when we were talking about the Jaguars Jets game, and I was like, that last game between the Titans and Jags, it says TBA still. I guarantee you, if that decides who wins, not just gets into the playoff as a wild card, because it wouldn't be a wild card, so it's not that game. It is who wins the division
Yeah.
to get in. So it's a division title game, and it is a playoff game. Play to get into the playoff game, because like the wild card ones, those have a little different feel to them. Yeah, you make the playoffs, but you're already not going to win the division. So
Yeah.
what's the point? What's the point of being excited about just making the playoffs? Whatever.
But
I'm just trying to make myself not feel as bad because the Patriots aren't going to make it. So
it's okay, Casino. It's okay. Let's move on to the next game. A game I made all the right calls for, still fucking picked the Lions. The 7-8 Detroit Lions lose to the 6-9 Carolina Panthers, 37-23. Jared Goff, 25 for 42, 355, 3 touchdowns. Goff, when he has time, I'm telling you, he can pick you apart. People do not respect him for whatever reason. I have no idea. He's a great quarterback. I'm going to dare say great, but he also does not play defense for the Lions, who gave up, let me see if this is correct, 320 rushing yards in this game. They gave up 165 yards and a touchdown to Foreman, and then 125 yards to Hubbard, and then still 20 yards and a touchdown rushing to Sam Darnold, who also had a passing touchdown and 250 yards. So I was watching this game almost stunned with how the Panthers just completely dominated the Lions. Like, it was insane. I mean, they shut down the Lions rushing attack. They let Goff like cook, but again, then they would just get the ball, run it down their throats, score a touchdown, and then Lions just couldn't keep up, which is crazy. What do we make of this Panthers team, Casino?
Well, I think we said last week, and I was trying to just roll with the Tom Brady's going to win. Tom Brady's going to win. Tom Brady's going to win. Um, uh, that division. Um, but man, the Panthers, like they're starting to get fun to watch because I think they're at a point where they kind of just don't care anymore. So you were saying, why would you care late in the season and trying to win a couple games? Well, because they don't care. So they're not overthinking things. They're just going out and playing, and they're taking risks, and it's paying off. That's not going to pay off every time, but hey, they crushed that. Those rushing yards like is almost sickening.
Yeah. Well, it's also crazy where you look at the Rams game. Baker Mayfield immediately started doing better when he left the Panthers. And then Sam Darnold immediately started doing better after he came off the bench. And they were just like, I guess you can be the starter. We have nobody else. So it was like both of them now are doing fantastic when, the beginning of the season, they were both on this team and couldn't do anything. So it's weird, like how this shit is just so like topsy turvy. Like now, Baker Mayfield, I mean, we'll talk about that Broncos Rams game, but he had like maybe the best game of his career, like
Yeah,
against
it was
a
clean.
top 3 defense. Like,
It was a clean game.
but let's segue from that game to we'll just skip to the Sunday night game, which was hands down one of the worst games I've ever watched in my life. The 7-8 Tampa Bay Bucks beat the 4-11 Arizona Cardinals 19-16. Tom Brady had I don't think it's even in doubt. His worst game I've ever seen him play until the last minute and 30 seconds, and then he
He's
led
done that
them down the
multiple
field.
times this season as well.
Ugh. And then he leads them down the field to get the game scoring touchdown or game tying touchdown. They go to OT, leads them down the field for a field goal to win the game. On the other end, McSorley was fine every time. It looked like, first off, the Cardinals line is awful. It looked like McSorley literally looked like he had 1 second from the ball being snapped to him trying to complete a pass to God knows who. I mean, it's DeAndre Hopkins, and then I guess Greg Dortch had 10 catches for 98 yards. Thoughts on this game, Casino?
Sorry. Which game? I'll be honest, I had my kids screaming. I was listening to what you're saying. Sam Darnold, something.
No, because we're talking about Bucks Cardinals.
Okay, cool.
So...
no, so yeah, no, I agree with you. This game was really. I was watching some of the stuff after we got home from my parents from Christmas. I turned it on, and the wife, we had already put Michaela down. She goes in the room, and I'm just watching the game. And I'm like, this is why. So I pulled out my phone and I just started playing the game, and that was just background noise. I wasn't even paying attention to this game. It was so rough to watch. It was 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out.
Yeah.
I couldn't handle it. So, but kind of what you're saying, why is I don't think you did say this yet, but you're saying that Tom Brady is always good there right at the end, towards the end of games. But why is he throwing 48 times? Just why?
Dude,
I know
have
that
no idea.
I know they don't have a great rushing game. I understand that. That's fine. Leonard Fournette's older. It's starting to trend down that way. But why is he running that much, or why is he throwing that ball that many times? That is a guy coming out of college throws.
Yeah.
I don't know how Tom Brady's doing it. And the fact that he still went 32 for 48. I mean, he did have 2 INTs. He just can't get the ball to where it needs to be right now. He's kind of turning into what oh my gosh. Oh wow.
Who?
Manning. Peyton Manning did with the
The
Broncos.
Well, I mean, but the Broncos at least had a good enough defense to carry Peyton that season. I think Manning looked his last season was like rough. It was like he couldn't even complete a pass. Brady is completing passes, but nobody, we've talked about this multiple times, nobody's catching the ball. And then when they do catch it, it's always like either a long bomb or like 2 or 3 yards and they get tackled. Like this Bucks offense, please, I don't care. Either of these teams, Bucks or Panthers, are going to lose in the playoffs. I don't want to see this team in the playoffs. They are the worst to watch.
I was listening, as I said, I was just kind of, it was on in the background, but I was listening to it and I watched a few plays. The offensive line for Tampa is just so bad that Arizona, they were playing a high six where I don't know the technical terms. I'm not a coach, but they were cutting off all those within 5-yard passing plays, and Brady would like to throw downfield, but he doesn't have the time. He can't.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these throws that he wasn't getting to the receivers, they were just covered. Because if Tom Brady couldn't get it out within 30 seconds, or not 30 like 0.3 seconds is what I meant to say, there's no way he wasn't going to make a completion. So kudos to that game planning. They still lost, but that's all you have to do to beat the Bucks. Like the Bucks are 100% figured out. Just you put everybody close. You put just the safety over top. That's it, because they're not going to be able to get to that long ball because Brady's going to get pressured super quick. I honestly didn't even know that this game went into OT.
I mean, what happened to both Julio Jones and Mike Evans? Julio Jones, like everybody, when he got there, they were like, oh my God, Tom Brady now gets Julio Jones. He's been non-existent.
Well, because Julio Jones is best when he's able to move and create his space for himself, aka he needs time. Brady doesn't have time to throw this football.
And Mike Evans has only caught 67 passes this year for 917 yards and 3 touchdowns. So, every year previous to this, he had over 1,000 yards and at least, let's see, this would be the least amount of touchdowns he caught since 2015. Like the year prior, he caught 14, then 13, then he had 2 years of 8. And then 5, 12, 3, 12. So he only has 3 touchdowns. I mean, there's 2 weeks to go, but what? The Buccaneers in the next 2 games, can you really guarantee they'll score 4 touchdowns altogether? Like, no, I would not bet money on that. And then Julio Jones, I think it's the age is catching up. He's also injury prone at this point. And yeah, I mean, this season, his stats are, how many yards do you think he has, Casito? He has played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's played 9 games this season. How many yards do you think he has?
321. 321.
He has 289 and 2 touchdowns. So he's played almost 9 games less than Mike Evans and has 1 less touchdown. So rough season. I'm glad I drafted
the next game's going to be very interesting, where it is the Bucks Panthers, because pretty much who wins that one, I think, is going to be taking it, right?
Well, there's dude, this is the weirdest division, because I also saw if the Saints win out, they would take it. And I think the only way they would take it is because they have to, let me pull them up. I think they also play the Panthers, or they beat the Panthers. I don't know. This division is just wonky. Oh yeah, they play the Eagles next week and then the Panthers the following week. So Saints went out, they're in. Bucks went out, they're in. Or Panthers went out, they're in. So I think the Bucks still, if they win out, they're in. But then the Panthers, it comes to they have to win out and they're in, or if the Saints went out therein, but the Saints and Panthers play each other, Bucks and Panthers play each other. So it's all those three. So if these teams were like each had like 9 or 10 wins, then this would be a really good division. But because they all have 6 or 7, it's just like, ugh, ugh. But let's jump back to Sunday morning with the Seahawks Saturday morning. I'm sorry. The now 7-8 Seattle Seahawks lose to the 12-3 Kansas City Chiefs 24-10. I just have one question. Are the Chiefs now, are they back to being the best team in the AFC? Do you think they are playing better now than Buffalo is?
That's all I get. One question.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I was doing the Joe Buck. I can't believe
Oh,
you
we'll
didn't
talk
catch on to
about
that.
Monday Night Football.
I can't believe you didn't catch on to that. Um, no, I mean, so say that I was too excited to say the question. Did you ask if they're the best team?
Are they the best team, not in the AFC, in the NFL at the moment, the Chiefs? Have they risen
Yeah,
back?
no. I know who you're talking about, but no. I don't think so. They're still a really good team, but the Bills, they figured out their offense. So they're back up, in my opinion, over the Chiefs. And then the Eagles are still absolutely legit. I don't care that they lost. We'll get to that game. I still think the Eagles are legit because, I mean, hey, that's a rivalry game in Dallas. You know, it's a tough game. You don't have your MVP, don't have the MVP of the league playing. Yada yada yada. We'll get to that.
I honestly think he lost the MVP. I think it's going to be Mahomes now. I really do.
Yeah.
I eat because I think
MVP to our hearts on the field because off the field that's for Zach Wilson, but on the field.
But then
He's still in our
again,
hearts.
everybody now is like, oh, Hurts was out. Minshew had a great game, so now Mahomes is the clear MVP. But they're going into, or no, the Broncos are coming to Kansas City this week. And remember, 3 weeks ago, Patrick Mahomes had 3 turnovers against this Broncos defense. So maybe, I don't know, maybe there's a chance for Hurts.
If that happens again, it's almost a blessing that Jalen Hurts is out because he doesn't have to screw anything up. And if Patrick Mahomes has another game like he did against Denver, then how can you say that he is the MVP?
Well, you can say that Patrick Mahomes, his stats are they're just insane. He literally has like Madden. If you just look at his like career stats, they are just Madden stats. This year, at the moment, he has 4,720 yards, 37 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Last year, he had 4,800 yards, 37 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Year before that, he had 4,700 yards, 38 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Then he had a down year, and a down year for him was still 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 5 INTs. His MVP season year was 2018. He had 5,100 yards, 50 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. That's just fucking, those are Madden numbers. That's fucking crazy. Like,
him and Andy Reid are a pair, aren't they?
I mean, I feel like people really downgrade Andy Reid. Like, they're just like, oh, it's Patrick Mahomes. I think it has a lot to do with Andy Reid.
100%. I mean, that's kind of what it is with or I still think this. I don't care what people say. Belichick, Brady is, Brady did have that success as soon as he went over to, Tampa, and Belichick's been in and out. He'll look to only have made the playoffs once of 3 years since Brady left. But typically when your star quarterback leaves like that and you just kind of clean house, you don't expect to be on a playoff bubble. So Belichick's done very good with having a brand new quarterback, Mac Jones, and then that awful year with Cam Newton, and he still almost made the playoffs, and he made the playoffs last year with the rookie. So what I'm getting at is coaching is very, very important. It's not just about the quarterback, but when you have a good pairing, like
Oh yeah.
Mahomes and Reed, Brady and Belichick, it just works because Brady was able to run the offense how he wanted to run it with McDaniels. They collaborated. It wasn't just one or the other. And Belichick ran the defense, and that was that. Andy Reid, he is a play design, offensive, just minded superstar, and
Yeah.
he's got a superstar that can do the things that he wants to be done. He's
Well,
got
and
somebody that can create those plays that he draws up in his head that he wants to run this type of team, this type of offense. And again, like they don't have the greatest defense in the world. They have a decent defense, but they keep the ball in Mahomes' hands.
yeah. And at the moment, I think, yeah, Kansas City is the 15th ranked defense in almost every category.
Yeah,
They're a
so like
little bit,
again, middle of the road.
yeah, they're a little bit better against the run than they are the pass, but
Just
still,
imagine if that defense was a top tier defense,
oh yeah, no,
like top three. This
this
team
team wouldn't have
would be
lost a game.
they wouldn't
Yeah,
have lost game, and they'd be blowing out teams because Patrick Mahomes would just have the ball the entire time. They would run through Andy Reid's playbook like 5 times, wrapping around. So I mean, are the Chiefs great? Yes. Are they the best team in the league right now? I still think the Bills and Eagles will top them, but they're right there. They're right underneath that.
well, also
That's my take on the Chiefs.
the danger for the Chiefs right now, because I think there's really only 3 teams in the league that I feel like are Super Bowl or bust, or your season's kind of like, who really gives a shit? I feel like it's my team, because of just how the way the season's gone. So it's Eagles, and then the other 2 teams are Chiefs and Bills, right?
Oh yeah.
Bills last year, it was like, how the fuck did we not get to the Super Bowl? More so with the Chiefs was like, how the fuck did we lose that Bengals game? And then Bengals, I feel like, are just coming up right behind them, just being like, we were here last year, nobody expected us, and we're here this year, and as good as the top 2 teams, maybe better, and they just,
Oh,
turned it
I
on
like
later.
how we've talked about how much we like Joey B. They're peaking at the right time. They
Yeah.
really are. A little worrisome that but again, it's a Belichick defense. The second half, they were able to stop the Bengals from doing anything, and gave the Patriots a fighting chance. But oh man, are the Bengals just fun to watch?
Yeah.
And so I agree. Like it's going to be the Chiefs, Bengals, or Bills. 110% coming out of the AFC. There's no absolute doubt in my mind.
Well,
Um,
also, what's going to be fun is if the standings stay exactly like they are right now, right? With Bills 1, Chiefs 2, Bengals 3, and then you would have Jags probably 4, Ravens 5, Chargers, Dolphins 6 and 7. The first round matchups would be Chiefs against the Dolphins. So maybe Tyreek Hill revenge game, he goes off. Maybe Tua, if he can avoid getting his 25th concussion of the season, he might actually
which
have a good game.
that story you could I want you to talk about that story.
Oh, we're
That
getting to it.
I didn't read the article. I read the headline. I was at work.
No, we will talk about that. But as far as the Chiefs, I do think they're the best team in the NFL right now. I just think they're kind of turning it on at the right time, especially after getting humbled by both the Bengals and the Bills. But
Some humble pie. That's what they had for Christmas.
yeah, exactly. But as far as the Seahawks go, sadly, I will use my favorite phrase here, Casino. Did they turn back into a pumpkin? Because it looks like the Seahawks, whatever they were doing that was working, has now stopped working. And ever since that Bucks game, they lost 21-16. Then they lost to the Raiders. Then they barely beat the Rams, and that was before Baker Mayfield. They got beat by the Panthers. They got destroyed by the Niners. Then they get destroyed by the Chiefs again. I mean, the last, that was 6 games have just been brutal. And they still have to go to the Jets, who Zach Wilson or not, are a good team with a good defense that can definitely shut this offense down. And then they end at like a weirdly now surging Rams team. So are the Seahawks done, or do you still see them backing themselves into the playoffs?
No, I think they're done. We've talked about it before already. I think they're done.
Yeah.
I was really hoping that it would that would open the door for the Lions, which is not shut, but it's
Well,
not looking good.
it didn't open the door for the Lions. It opened the door for your favorite NFC team, which is the
Oh,
Packers.
I
Now, if the Packers win out, they're in. And let's jump to that game because we were just talking about both of them. The Packers and the Dolphins played in a weirdly interesting game that happened on Christmas Day. They the now 7-8 Green Bay Packers beat the now 8-7 Miami Dolphins 26-20 with a fourth quarter comeback that led to, I think the Dolphins had 4 turnovers just in the second half. Tua threw 3 of the worst interceptions you've ever seen, but there might be a reason because everybody, and by everybody I mean the online detectives, are saying there was one hit on Tua where he like threw out of a sack, or maybe he did get sacked on this play. I think he threw it out of a sack, and then he gets slammed down to the ground. His helmet bounces off the grass. Obviously, Tua has missed like 6 games, maybe 5, 6 games this
He's
season
missed
with
multiple for
multiple
sure.
concussions. Yeah. So if that is the moment, and this is courtesy of NFL memes, I saw this. If that was the hit that did give to a concussion, and apparently he is in concussion protocol again, before this hit, he was 9 for 12, 229 yards, 19 yards per average per attempt, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. After this hit, everybody thinks he got a concussion on. 7 of 13, 81 yards, 6.2 yards per average, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Like, it's night and day the difference between post hit and pre hit. It has to be a concussion,
Oh
especially
yeah,
with him. Like, I just,
I don't understand. I don't understand the Dolphins, man. That like this organization should be hit hard.
oh, with fines like out the ass. Yeah. Ugh.
Draft
But
picks taken, stuff like because dude, obviously, obviously he's in bad shape.
well, also it becomes that worrisome thing, and we've seen multiple football players have to retire because of too many concussions and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure that was the thing that took out, wasn't it like that took out Montana or Aikman, one of those like Hall of Fame quarterbacks who had too many concussions and basically had to like
I
retire.
don't know if it was Montana, but it may have been Joe Montana.
Joe Montana. But
Sorry, I watched that movie the other day.
but yeah, I just think now it's starting to get to the point where it's like, okay, he's had minimum that we know of, minimum 2 really bad concussions this year. This is potentially a third one. Like, 3 concussions, and you've always heard the thing about concussions is once you get one, it's way easier to get the next one and the next one and the next one, and it's just one of those things that just keeps stacking up. It's it's
He's
getting to the
Billy Bob over here, man.
yeah, it's getting to the point where, do you talk about retiring from football, never playing again? He definitely should not play the rest of this season. He's
Oh
gotten
yeah.
way too fucking many. Like, I don't know. Thoughts on concussions, Casino, especially when it's like this?
They need to be taken serious, man. Like brain damage. But okay, sorry. My house feels like it's like we're in the middle of Kansas, and
Oh
I'm going
yeah,
to visit.
no. The
Where did
weather
it
in
come? Where did
Vegas
it
today
come
is just
from?
brutal. I don't know. I woke up this morning.
I'm supposed to be golfing tomorrow, and I was looking at the weather the next 2 days, and it was like 5 to 10 miles an hour, 5 to 10 miles an hour for like all 3 days.
Yeah.
From I looked Sunday night and it was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 5 to 10, 5 to 10, 5 to 10. We're at like 40-mile-an-hour gusts.
Yeah. No, it's
Sorry.
bad.
Anyway, sorry.
And it's going to start raining in about 2 hours.
Right.
So, yeah.
See, I'm fine golfing in the rain. I knew that was going to happen, but I wasn't like, this is crazy. Anyway, um, yeah, he needs to be pulled. He should not be playing at all. It's a serious thing. Brain damage. Look what's happening with Antonio Brown. Like we both think that he has CTE.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
well, and then you also
start marking it in like 2 to 3 years from now if Tua's all of a sudden going crazy.
Well, he's only 24. Like, he's a really
scary.
young guy to have that many concussions that are like, I mean, we've seen people get like their quote unquote bell rung, and then it's just like one game, they maybe miss a game or two, and then they're like fine, and you never hear about them having their like bell rung again. I feel like with Tua, it's every game, like he takes hits, and either he just doesn't know how to take them, or he's just prone to those kind of hits. I don't know, but it's just like he just always seems to get tackled where his head smacks against the ground. Like every single sack of his is, he's not rolling to the ground holding the ball. He's literally just like standing straight up, and then just like the whiplash thing. I don't know, man. But as far as this season goes, I don't think there's any way the NFL, I don't know if there's any way the Dolphins can legally let him back on the field, or the NFL can just be like, we're telling you this guy is not allowed to play anymore. Like, somebody has to step in, because clearly him and his team are just like, no, he's good. Send him out there. Send him out there, and let's just have him have permanent fucking brain damage. But as far as the less macabre of this game is the Green Bay Packers, one of our favorite teams in the league, Casino. We both love Aaron Rodgers. You love him more than I do. He didn't even have a good game. That Mercedes Lewis catch that basically set up their touchdown, that was not a catch. That ball was touching the ground, but Dolphins didn't challenge it.
Oh, what are you saying? Are you saying the refs got it wrong? Are you saying the refs got something? Dude, this has been another one of those really bad officiating years.
Oh, yeah.
Where,
dude,
for
bad.
every team, and this is not me being, again, biased for the
No, it's league wide.
It is. I'm having trouble watching games, and every time I see a flag, and I'm just, or a non-flag, and I'm like, how?
Yeah.
How?
Well, that's also the thing where it's like
betting legal now for the refs, or what?
Well, that's also the thing. Another one that needs to be addressed is holding, because every play now looks like they have holding, and then so they just randomly decide to call it, and it's only on like important plays.
And this is something where I've always been bothered by basketball. Even though I like college, I'm not a big NBA guy, but it's the discretion of the refs, and I hate that, because
I do too.
You watch every possession, I'm holding that coffee mug. Prove me otherwise. Every possession in the NBA, there's a foul.
Oh yeah. Well, it's just it could be something as simple as double dribbling. Yeah. Like double dribbling is supposed to be illegal.
What happened to the carry? Like,
yeah, traveling happens every play. But that's like the thing.
That rule went out of the damn league, where you take the ball like this and then you turn it over and double dribble. Like,
yeah,
you can't carry, but every person, and they take like 4 steps as they're doing the thing. You're not supposed to do that anyway. So,
but no, I agree. That's the equivalent. That's now the equivalent of holding in the league.
Yes, 100%.
I feel like holding, it happens every play, and then the refs will just be like, he held him too much that play. And you're just like, and then they'll show the replay of the play, and 3 other guys will also be holding, and it'll just be like, what even is this rule? But as far as the Packers go, they have 2, I believe, with the other teams in front of them losing. Now it's win and get in. The only issue is they play the Vikings next week, and then the Lions the week after that. two teams.
They're gonna lose one of them.
Yeah, well, they've already lost to the Lions and Vikings both this year previous. Remember, week 1, they got absolutely annihilated by the Vikings. And then November 6th, they barely got beat by the Lions. It looks like with 6 points. So I don't know. I don't know what to think of this Packers team. I don't think Aaron Rodgers has particularly looked good this season.
If they get in, could I see them getting in? Yes, because we're still not sure on the Vikings. I think they're a good team, but it's still weird how they play. Lions, we know what they are: great offense, bad defense. So you just never know.
Yeah.
I say they win both of these 2 games, which could happen. I don't see them doing anything in the playoffs against any of these elite teams.
Well, especially if they got into the playoffs, they would get in as the 7th seed. So their first matchup. The Eagles would get the first round bye if the playoffs started today.
So they would play
they would play the Vikings.
Oh, Vikings.
Again. So, but see, this is the thing. The Packers need to get into the playoffs. But then once they get into the playoffs, they're going to play Vikings again. And because the Vikings would have to. Never mind. That was a dumb point. I was going to say it's going to be hard to beat a team 3 times in a season.
I had that thought, but I didn't say it aloud because I understood it quicker than you did.
Yeah. So then it would be 1-1 going into the playoffs. I don't know. But then again, I agree with you. I don't think there's a threat. They're a threat to get into the playoffs, but would it shock me? No, especially because a week ago, everybody was penciling the Lions to get into the playoffs. So who fucking knows? Now everybody's on the Packers, and they could easily get annihilated this week. Like, who knows? But speaking of the Vikings, let's move to that game. I also saw, let me first read this. 8-6-1 New York Giants lose to the now 12-3 Minnesota Vikings, 27-24 on a last second, I believe it was 61-yard field goal. It was.
It was his career high in yardage by 5. His previous long was 56.
So Kelly Ford ratings, K4 ratings on Twitter posted this thing, which perfectly encapsulates what this Vikings team is. So this is called the What If NFL standings. What if every one possession NFL game had the opposite result? So every game that ended because of one possession was flipped. What would the records be? So the Broncos would be 9-5, which is one of the biggest differences in this chart, except for the Vikings, who would be 1-13. If all their one possession games flipped, they'd be 1-13, which means they have won 13 games by one possession, and they are 12-3. So again, I don't know how they can keep this up, but they have literally kept it up all season, this game included, because I really thought the Giants were going to win this game. And me and you had different in picks here. So I was rooting for the Giants also because Vikings are still nipping at the heels of the Eagles for the number 1 seed. So if they would have lost, it would have basically wrapped it up for the Eagles. But how do they keep fucking doing this, Casino? How the hell do the Vikings win all these one possession games? And is it a good
that makes them
trait?
But that makes them scary.
I know.
That makes them very scary for any team. Like, oh, they're not looking great, but they're winning.
Dude, if you're within one score of the Vikings, like, how are you not absolutely terrified? The luck this season is on them 100%. Like, it's been proven. Every game where it's a one possession game coming into the fourth quarter, they win. It's, man. And then the Giants, I don't feel like the Giants are even that bad. Like, they actually look pretty damn good in this game. They look good in the Washington game. I think the Giants will get into the playoffs. The only issue is they have to beat the Colts this week, which I thought the Colts were feisty until we saw them on Monday night. And then they have to play the Eagles, which if the Eagles win this week against the Saints, I'm assuming they'd be putting all backups in that last week, so they could easily get in there. This Giants team is scary, but I really think everyone, including myself, doesn't like or trust this Vikings team, but there's been no reason not to like or trust them. They just know how to win games. They know how to keep every game close and then just pull it out. I don't know. I don't know, Casino. I don't know.
You good? You in there?
Yeah.
Fair.
It's insane. Like, this is insane for this Vikings team. And then what? They finish with, we said they play the Packers next week, and then they go to, let's see. So they play the Packers next week, and then they finish at the Bears. So they're literally going to finish as a, what? As a 14-3 team. Like, that nobody trusts or respects, which is fucking crazy. That's crazy. And also, I'm not even throwing anybody else under the bus. I'm right there with you. But do you still, who in the NFC playoffs at the moment would you take the Vikings over? Would you take them over the Eagles?
No.
Over the 49ers?
No.
Over the Cowboys? Remember, they played 40-3.
No.
And then it becomes over the wild card teams, which at the moment are Giants or Washington. Well, we just saw them beat the Giants.
The rest of the teams, I could say they could beat.
And then whoever comes out of the NFC South, I think even at this point, the wild card teams could beat, because, yeah, that's rough, but I don't understand it, Casino. Let's move on to the 12-3 Buffalo Bills beating the 3-12 Chicago Bears 35-13. It was in Chicago. Justin Fields didn't run,
dude. Well, man, did you see that field? It looked like they were playing hockey.
Yeah,
the field was iced over. It was the windshield. I think you said it to me, but the windshield was at one point minus 20 something.
Yeah,
holy shit,
dude, it is crazy. The like home field advantage the Bears have that they do not know how to capitalize on, because they also have to play in that weather. So you would think they would be used to it, but both teams looked absolutely fucking miserable for the first half.
Yeah, they were all frozen.
Yeah,
they were all frozen. I mean, yeah, Josh Allen didn't have the greatest game, 15-26, 172 yards, 2 TDs, 2 INTs, but I'm Singletary had a good one, 12 carries for 106 yards. That's not bad.
Well, and then James Cook also almost had 100 for and a touchdown. So, but I saw this last week with the Eagles Bears game. Like, when you go to to Bears home games in December, January, November, like, you're just gonna have a miserable time. It just looks cold. It looks like it's like cold. The field looks gross. It looks like it's iced over. It probably hurts like a motherfucker. Like, this literally looks like a game where you just go try to survive it without injuries and then just like go home, because this was brutal. I mean, the score at halftime was 10-6, and then Buffalo came on in the third or fourth quarter to win 35-13. But I think you can say the same thing about Josh Allen that you can Dak Prescott, which we'll get to at that game. But his turnovers, he just always turns the ball over so much, whether it be INTs or fumbles. He has 32 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, but I really feel like he's one of those players that when he throws one interception a game, there's almost a guarantee he throws a second one. He has very few one INT games, and almost all the games he's thrown an interception in, he has 2. So maybe the key to beat him, I don't know. But at this moment, would you still take the Bills over the Chiefs?
Yeah, I would. As long as Josh Allen is playing good, yes.
Yeah, I think
And
I
I'm
think
not, this game was with this weather. I do not really factor this one in because, again, that is crazy weather. That's
oh
crazy
yeah.
weather. Playing at minus 20 degrees, like, no, you wouldn't, I wouldn't even be out there. I wouldn't be out there.
No,
Nope.
that's brutal. Brutal, brutal.
I don't know how they could have a game that cold. I'll be honest.
I mean, great segue here, Casito, because the only field that looked more miserable than the Bears Bills game was the Saints Browns game. That Browns, they were playing in Cleveland. The now 6-9 New Orleans Saints beat the now 6-9 Cleveland Browns 17-10 on what it literally looked like they were playing on an ice rink that entire game. That field was frozen over. It was a miserable game. Andy Dalton threw for 92 yards and a touchdown. Deshaun Watson, not much better, 15 for 31, 135 yards, one INT. He also had a rushing touchdown. Browns have been eliminated from playoff contention, which is good because nobody likes the Browns anymore because of Deshaun Watson.
No, I wanted to see Jacoby Brissett stay as their QB, man.
Maybe they would have been better. Maybe they would still be in playoff contention, but they had to get Watson out there, who has played absolutely abysmal. But this is one of those things, like we just talked about with the Bears game, where I don't feel like you can really talk about this game in terms of stats because of how miserable like the conditions were. This game was brutal. I watched this game just to look at like the weather and the fields. I didn't really care about either team playing, but yeah, there's nothing much to talk about this game, so we'll just move on. Next up, the Commanders, Washington Commanders, now 7-7-1, lose to the now 11-4 San Francisco 49ers, 37-20. Tyler Heineke, I don't have my Heineken. You know I don't have my Heineken because he was actually benched in this game for the old Eagles quarterback Carson Wentz, who actually came in and played pretty damn good. But then again, I don't think Heineke was playing bad, especially against without question, the best defense in the league. Are the 49ers, if your team was in the playoffs, either AFC or NFC, are the 49ers the team you would want to play the least?
Oh yeah, 100%.
I just think they're really the only team in the league at the moment that's playing defense and like playing good defense. Does that
Oh
make
yeah,
sense?
because even though I like the Eagles and I like the Bills, whatnot, you can still put up points on them.
Yeah.
The Niners are they're a stump. They're a stump. You can't move them. They are what they are. They are, you know exactly what they are. They are a stump on defense where they just aren't gonna budge, and their offense is dynamic enough to score.
Yeah. Well, and we talk about bend don't break defenses. They're not even bend. They're
Oh
literally
yeah.
don't move defenses. Like we've talked about on this pod how great their rush defense is. It is still number one with allowing the least rushing yards in the league, right there with Tennessee and Baltimore. But again, they allow 5 yards average less per rush than any other team in the league. And there is only 2 teams that are kind of within the realm of them. Everybody else allows over 100 yards a game. They allow 75, only 3.3 yards per rush. And then passing, I mean, they are still, I mean, they're 15th in the league, but they're still only allowing 215 yards passing a game. So if you and that's the average, right? So the average, they're barely allowing 300 yards a game in 2020 NFL, where all rules are regulated to make the offense more dynamic. So a defense that allows less than 300 yards in a 2022 NFL is scary. Like this is the team that by the time my Eagles have to play somebody coming into Philadelphia, I just really hope it's not the 49ers. I will
Oh,
play
for sure.
anybody else in the NFC playoffs. I don't want to see the Niners. I really don't. And I think NFC Championship is going to be Eagles Niners, and that terrifies me now. It terrifies me, Casino. As far as the Commanders, I think this was the final nail in their coffin. I think this and the Giants game are really the things that I think officially knocked them out of the playoffs this coming week.
That's a good, yeah, I can see that's a fair point.
Especially with now they're starting Carson Wentz. Like, he looked good when he was coming off the bench, but in a game, he's going to give up at least one fumble and one interception where you're like, how the fuck was that? How the fuck did he fumble or throw that interception? It's going to be brutal. But let's move on to Carson Wentz's former team, and that is my Philadelphia Eagles, now 13-2, losing to the now 11-4 Dallas Cowboys, 40-34. I told you last week I didn't really give a shit about this game. And then all of a sudden I'm watching the game and it's the most invested I've ever been in a football game in my life.
In your entire life.
And of course I text Casino right after it happened. I can't watch sports talk shows for the rest of the week because I already know what the narrative is going to be. It's going to be like, Cowboys, real threat in the NFC, like the best team in the NFC, blah, 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 blah. It's like, no. If you watch this fucking game, no. The Eagles, not only did they turn the ball over 4 times, they turned over the ball 4 times in some of the worst fucking 2 interceptions were because Quez Watkins, one, he got absolutely mugged on a play. I don't know how it was a pass interference. The second one, he let somebody just rip the ball out of his hands. And then Miles Sanders
that one was insane to see.
That one was literally a wide receiver just being like, I'm not going to fight for it. I'm good. Like, you can just have it. And then Miles Sanders also with just a terrible, terrible fumble. So they threw 2 interceptions. They fumbled twice and lost both of them. Gardner Minshew actually had a damn good game, but they had no rushing attack either. So, let's see. Who doesn't turn the ball over and would give the Eagles more rushing yards? If only there was a player they were missing who was one of the best in the league at protecting the ball and running. Oh, it's Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts fucking starts this game. Not only do the Cowboys lose, I honestly think it would have been a fucking blowout. And again, that's bias on my part, right? Like, that's wishful thinking. That's everything. But the Cowboys got 20. They almost got 3 touchdowns on just off turnovers, right? Because of field position and all this kind of stuff. So let's say they get half of that. They get 20 points. The Eagles still score 34. They score more points because they don't turn the ball over. So I don't know how you can analytically look at this game and be like, if Jalen Hurts was starting, the things he's great at are the things this Eagles team are the reason they lost. So I don't know how you can't be like, oh yeah, Hurts starts this game. It's a completely different story. And I also feel like that makes his case for the NFL MVP. Because again, Minshew played great. 24 for 40, 355, 2 touchdowns, 2 INTs. I don't put either of those interceptions on him. Those were all on Quez Watkins, who just decided, one, he wasn't going to wrestle for the ball, and the second one was like a missed defensive pass interference. The thing I will say, though, is Dak also had a pretty damn good game. 27 for 35, 347, 3 touchdowns, 1 INT. The INT was a pick 6, right like the 3rd play of the game. So after that, he played almost like a flawless game. Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard, they rush for probably about like 70 yards. Dak Prescott, 41. The one I will say, this is why I text you this right after, I still feel this way. I am more confident in this Eagles team after this game than I was going into this game. And I'll tell you why. 3 reasons.
Let's hear.
Dak almost had a perfect game. CeeDee Lamb had maybe his best game he's ever played. Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott were pretty much stuffed in the run game against a team that everybody said you could run against with the Eagles. And then the defense got 4 turnovers. So in a game where the running back and wide receiver both had perfect games and the defense got 4 turnovers, this was a game that came down to the last play of the game where if one guy catches it in the end zone, the Eagles win. So I don't know how, if you're a Cowboys fan, you walk away from this game going, we're Super Bowl contenders, like we're the best team in the NFC. Like it's like everybody forgets the first Eagles Cowboys game was not close until the fourth quarter when the Cowboys got within, I think it was 3, and then the Eagles spent 7 minutes going 70 yards and then put the touchdown in to extend their lead. Not at one point during that game was Dallas ever winning. So in 2 games against Dallas, it was multiple times during this game, they were up by 10 points, them being the Eagles, were up by 10 points, and then they just kept turning the fucking ball over. So, again, I don't know how you walk out of this game with anything other than when Hurts gets back on this team, like, the Eagles are good. I don't know. Casino, disagree, or any thoughts on this game before we move on?
I totally agree with what you're saying. I've been more pro Eagles than you have, and I hate the Eagles.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. Even if, let's say, Hurts doesn't play and these two play again in the playoffs, I'm still going to pick the Eagles. You just control that turnover count, you're going to win again.
Well, and last week they turned the ball over, I believe 3 times as well, but we just talked about it. They were playing in Chicago where the windshield was like -6. They're going to be playing in Philadelphia where it's cold, but it's not Chicago windy wind chill cold. Like it's like a cold they're used to. All these playoff teams are going to have to be through the link. Oh, that was the other thing. That was one of my third reasons was they were in Dallas. Like you're going to be in Philadelphia if these teams meet again. Like you're not going to get perfect games from Dak and CeeDee Lamb again.
Yeah,
it's
you're
just not going to happen
in a big old Superdome, and
yeah, and they're not going to have
Superdome. What do they call it there?
I don't know. I was going to make a joke, but I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, so congrats to Cowboys fans. Enjoy it while it lasts, because what I saw was a Cowboys team where I was like, first off, they almost dropped 40 points to a quarterback who has played 1 game in the past 2 years. Like, but again, this defense was the thing everybody was supposed to fear. And yes, I'm an Eagles fan. Yes, I'm biased. I don't care. Next up, we have the Casino's favorite team, the 6-9 Las Vegas Raiders, losing 7 to the 7-8 Pittsburgh Steelers, 13-10. Derek Carr throws 1 touchdown, 3 INTs. The Raiders lose. Kenny Pickett, 244, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. Nothing really about this game. The Raiders were up by 10-3 going into halftime. They lose by giving up 10 points to the Steelers in the fourth quarter. I don't think there's really anything to talk about in this game, Casino, except obviously RIP to Franco Harris, who passed away. But let me check real quick. When was the Immaculate Reception? It was, what, 1970? I'm going to say 7?
Long time ago.
So it was 1972. Why the fuck are we just now retiring Franco Harris's jersey, where he sadly passes away after this was already announced? So he was supposed to be at this, but let me do the quick math here. It's 2022. The Immaculate Reception happened in 1972. Why the fuck are they just now retiring his jersey? They couldn't have done this in the 90s, the early 2000s, literally any year prior to this. That's so fucking... And now he passed away, so he doesn't even get to see it happen. Like, fucking great job, Steelers. But as far as this game goes, playoff contender-wise, I think it just keeps the Steelers in it. Basically, it knocks the Raiders out of it, so congrats, Casino. The only ones above them are Titans, which I think both you and I think are out of it, and then the Jets and Patriots. So your Patriots still have a shot, Casino. Do you guys play the Dolphins
We do.
as one of your last two games? So if you beat the Dolphins and win your other game, you would be in.
The other game's against the Bills.
Ooh. But is it the last game of the season? Well, it has to be, right?
Yeah. No,
So
we
they
play
might.
the Bills next, right?
No,
Yeah.
they play the Bengals next Monday night.
We just lost.
Oh, you just lost to what?
You're looking at what we just played. We just played the Bengals. And
No,
lost.
I'm saying, so you end at the Bills. No, I was talking about the Bills. The Bills play the Bengals Monday night, and then you guys, week 18, play the Bills. So the Bills might have it wrapped up and be sitting everybody. So they might hand you, or no, because if the Chiefs win, they would have to play next week. So yeah, I'm sorry, Casino. I'm sorry. But let's go to, I believe we are almost done here. The Rams Broncos was our Super Bowl on this show. Casino won it. The Rams blew out.
That's all I cared about. I got really excited, and my dad was like, "Why are you excited for these teams? You're a Patriot." My dad doesn't care about football. Really, he's not a sports guy, and he was like, he watches it, but he's not like into the games.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Why are you cheering like crazy?" And I'm like, "You just don't get it, Dad. You just don't get it. If you watch my podcast, you know." He's like, "You have a podcast?" And I'm like, "God damn it."
The 4-11 Denver Broncos lose to the 5-10 Los Angeles Rams, 51-14. Baker Mayfield, 24 for 28, 230, 2 touchdowns. But this was the Cam Akers game. 23 carries, 118 yards, 3 touchdowns. Russell Wilson.
And what a stand-up guy. Like, I watched him. Did you see when he ran into that dude on the sideline?
Who, Cam Akers? No, I did not.
Oh,
I didn't watch 1 second of this game.
Went out, out of bounds on, running, couldn't stop. Runs in one of the the camera operating. Not, it wasn't the camera guy. It was like the boom guy or whatever. I don't know. Runs into the dude, and instead of like getting up and celebrating like most players do, like he immediately like pops up and like goes right to the guy, helps him up. It's like patting on, like making sure he's okay, and like all of the rest of his team's like trying to get him to celebrate, and he's like taking care of this dude. So shout out to you, bud. That was a good moment for you, because
I remember.
I absolutely hate that when a player runs into like a cheerleader or a coach or whatnot or another player, and instead of checking on them, they just get up and walk away. It's like, do you not know how big you are and how much force you just ran into that person who's stationary?
I want to say I don't, and if
they're okay.
If it wasn't him, I will apologize for it not being him. I want to say it was Deebo Samuel earlier in the season, completely ran over and murdered one of the camera guys who stands on the side. Like, ran him over. He's rolling on the ground. You could tell he like got like fucked up from it. And then instead of checking on him, he literally like steps over him to go celebrate with his team and just kind of like says like fuck off to that guy or whatever. And I was just like, fuck that guy. Like, that guy was just standing on the sidelines. I don't know if that
was Deebo or not. Whoever that was sounds like a piece of shit. So when I saw Akers like pop up and like check on the dude, I was like, yeah, man. Yeah.
I agree. And that's why you picked the Rams to win that game.
Totally. Because I foresaw that play.
But yeah, this was our Super Bowl. Ooh, it's up here. It was Deebo Samuel. Fuck you, Deebo Samuel. I just gave you credit, or your team credit. Now I hope you guys lose to the Carolina Panthers. That's who I hope you lose to. That would be amazing. But yeah, so Russell Wilson.
That's an early pick, by the way, for you.
Russell Wilson, 15 for 27, 214, 1 touchdown, 3 INTs. Same old Russell Wilson. This season, he stat-wise has, if this will load in time, he has 12 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 3,000 yards. We are 2 weeks from the season ending. He has 12 touchdowns. We've played 16 games. That is And he has had, let's see this. He has had multiple games where he threw 2 or 3 interceptions, or three or 2 touchdowns. So that means for of those 12 touchdowns, 1, 2 in 2 games he threw for 5. So he started every game. How is this possible, Casino? How did Russell Wilson go from like pretty damn good in contention for one of the best quarterbacks in the league to, no doubt in my mind, the worst starting quarterback in the league in relation to what he's being paid?
Yeah. Well, they're not running. Like he wanted the show to be all on his passing. So hey, it's gonna be on your passing, and they know you're gonna throw the ball. You get what you get.
Well, there was also more Broncos drama, which they fired their coach, I believe,
They
yesterday,
fired 3
today.
coaches.
Oh, was it yesterday or today? I believe it was
Yes,
today.
yesterday. I know
No,
maybe
no,
there's
it
a new
was
one today.
yesterday.
It was yesterday, but
Day
yeah,
after Christmas.
they fired the coach. They fired like the offensive line coach, which doesn't seem to be. I mean, they had the bad on Christmas, but like the offensive line hasn't been horrible. It hasn't been great. And the special teams coach.
Well, and then they also promoted like the guy that Hackett brought on to be like the time management coach or whatever. He's now interim head coach. Why do you not promote the defensive coordinator to head coach, aka the only good part of your team, the defense? That just seems like a weird misstep. But did you also see that clip of Brett Ripien? I don't know how you say his last name. Ripien, the Broncos backup, getting in an argument on the sidelines with the offensive lineman, and
Yeah, I saw
apparently it
that.
was over Russell Wilson. And if you're a Broncos fan, I don't think there is a team in the league that is in a worse situation than the Broncos.
Oh, I
Because
would agree.
even the Texans, they at least have like they're at least fighting and playing,
The
with good
Texans,
teams.
the Texans, the Panthers, the Colts, all these teams that are losing coaches and this and that, but at least there's not like there's just it seems like there's a ticking time bomb in Denver to where every player is just on edge, and I think this season needs to be over before something bad happens.
Yeah. Well, also with those other teams, it's like at least like, oh, we just need a quarterback. Oh, we get the number 1 pick. Oh, we have all this cap space. So there's like solutions in place to the problems they have. The
That's fair.
Broncos, they have no picks. They have no money. They have nothing. Like it's like if they don't figure this out next season, they're probably going to even be worse than they are like right now, and they're one of the worst teams in the league. So and also you just got blown out 50 points to a quarterback who's been with this team for 2 weeks. Like, and that quarterback is Baker Mayfield. It's not even like, you know, Tom Brady in his prime or whatever. You're getting blown out by Baker Mayfield having a damn near perfect game. Like, ugh. We got one more game to go, Casino, and that was Monday night's football, which was last night. The 9-6 now Los Angeles Chargers beat the now 4-10-1 Indianapolis Colts 20-3. Herbert 24 for 31, 235, 1 interception. Nick Foles 17 for 29, 143 yards, 3 INTs. I chose to put him as my starting fantasy quarterback because I believed in him more than my other options. He had maybe the worst game of all the other quarterbacks I could have chosen. So I am officially knocked out of my fantasy football playoffs. Thank you, Nick Foles. But then
I'm out of
again,
mine as well.
he did bring my team their first Super Bowl, so I will forgive him. Uh yeah, I started him over Darnold, and I started him over Mayfield. I really believed in Nick Foles. I thought it was going to come in, shock the world, and instead, let's do Casino's Fantasy Corner. Probably, I think the last one of the season because both you and I are out. On
I
my
don't want to talk
bench,
about it.
On my bench, I had Darnold, Higgins, Hubbard, who all got 20 points. And in place, I put Foles, Knight, and Goodwin, who all got, let's see, Goodwin got 10 points. Higgins got 22. Knight got 2 points, where Hubbard got 12, and then Nick Foles got 2 points, where Darnold got 22. So if I would have made those 3 changes, I would have destroyed. But instead, I'm out. How about you, Casino?
I'm not happy. I'm out. The previous week, my team scores just shy of 200 points, and this week I didn't change anything, and the matchups looked fine. Because obviously, if you want to be a good fantasy coach, you gotta, check fantasy coach. You gotta check who they're playing against, and you gotta do all that and take that into consideration. Everything looked fine. My team doesn't even put up 100 points.
Yeah. Well, my team just got riddled with fucking injuries. Like I had Lamar Jackson as my quarterback. My opponent did the really smart thing where I had 3 quarterback options to pick up. One of them was Minshew, who I definitely would have picked up. The other one was, let me get to this game real quick. So I could have picked up either Minshew, or where is it? Oh, Huntley as my backup. Those were the 2 guys who were projected, to have the best weeks. This guy dropped 2 of his players to pick those up, to put those guys on the bench, so I couldn't pick them up. Great dick move. Great fucking strategy because it paid off. So literally the people I could have chose from were Baker Mayfield, Mac Jones, Sam Darnold, or Nick Foles. So I went Nick Foles. He got worse than all the other ones. I should have went Darnold, but yeah, I got annihilated. I also had I think I had 2 guys who were out for the season who I had to drop. How I made it to the semifinals, I don't know, but no, we're both out, Casino. We're both out.
It's my
Damn.
luck. It's what always happens.
I know.
This guy that I beat twice this season, he was 6-8, and I'm 12-2, and he beats me on the 3rd time around. Where my team goes 200 points and then less than 100 the next week.
The guys in my league now playing for 3rd and 4th are me, who finished 2nd in the league, and the guy who finished 1st in the league. The guys who are playing for the championship finished 5th and 6th. So that's me and this other guy. We fucking dominate the whole season, and then you just take 1 bad week in the playoffs and you're fucking out. Great. I love fantasy football. I fucking love it.
Yeah, I'm not doing it next year. I've already said.
But as far as this game goes, the Chargers beat the Colts in what also was just the drizzling shits of a game. I think that's the first time I've ever used that saying on this podcast. I love it.
Yeah, I didn't like that imagery.
Drizzling shits. Imagine it deep and long, Casino. Herbert didn't have a great game. Keenan Allen did 11 for 104, but this was all the Chargers defense. I mean, you're playing against the corpse of Nick Foles. The peak of him was in Philadelphia. Ever since he left Philadelphia, this is what you get. I should have known, but I thought he would have some magic left in him. The Chargers, I think the AFC really is shaping up to be maybe one of the best AFC playoffs we've ever seen. I mean, you get this Chargers team, you get Bills, Chiefs, Bengals, and then if you get a Lamar Jackson returning, you get a Lamar Jackson-led Baltimore Ravens team that has a great fucking defense. And then you have the wild card in terms of like, what can they be with this Jaguars? And then you have a sneaky good Dolphins team where if they do force Tua to be back at quarterback, which we've seen them do it multiple times, why wouldn't they now? He can be a real threat in the playoffs with that offense. So really, really interesting AFC playoffs that now it looks like it's set except for like seeding. So I don't know. Thoughts on this Chargers team, Casino? I know both both of us at the start of the season thought this could be a dark horse contender to like go to the Super Bowl, and now they like really can be.
Yeah. All we've said is they just needed to get healthy, and every week they just seem to be a little better, a little better, a little better.
And a little
I wouldn't want to
healthier.
play this team. I
No,
wouldn't.
this seems eerily similar like a team like Cincinnati last year, where
That's fair.
they were kind of rough in the beginning and then they started getting healthier. They kind of started figuring out who they were, and then they kind of just rode all that momentum into the playoffs. Like if this Chargers team at full health like this got to the Super Bowl, I don't feel like anybody would be like, how the hell did the Chargers get there? Like it would, I think it would just be like they always play the Chiefs tough. They can hang in there with the Bills and the Bengals. Like I think they're a real threat in the AFC. Last thing on this game, did you see that Derwin James hit that took? I mean, he got ejected from the game. He's going to get fined. That was fucking brutal. Like
Yeah, it
that
was.
is one of those leading with the helmet. Like, dear
It,
God.
that where's everybody calling him out? Dirty
Oh,
player,
that was a
dirty
dirty
player,
play.
dirty player. Come on.
That guy was. Do we want to do NHL and NBA or we want to save it?
Let's save it.
Yeah, we went longer than I thought we would. Uh, we'll save NBA and NHL talk. We'll talk Christmas Day NBA on Thursday's pod. So this has just been the Only Sports Podcast, all NFL edition. I've been Will. That's been Casino. And yeah, we'll see you later this week.